Wakey, wakey. It's another week, another day that we meet here on a Morning Prime, the 27th of May 20. And I'm glad that you're joining us. I trust that you had a lovely restorative weekend and you're ready for the new day. Today it is Monday. Every Monday we have Standpoint coming your way, where we take a critical analysis of the political landscape of the way and of the day, and of course the current affairs as far as the country is concerned. We shall be looking today on a raft of issues, of course, also getting keenly on or looking keenly on what is happening in the Mount Kenya region. Also, it appears that the CAS position now that will be solidified after the National Administration Amendment Bill also has sailed through, and now the president has no limit as far as appointment of the CAS is concerned. He can appoint as many as he would want to as far as that bill is concerned as well. We shall be looking at that, and moving forward as well, there is that row that is now between the Senate and the National Assembly as far as the House bill is concerned. Also, we shall be looking at that with our panelists this morning. I'm joined by Richard Onyonka, who's the Senator of Kisii. Also, the Senator of Bomet will be with us, Hilary Sigei, Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament, Berry North, and also we shall be joined by Dr. Makali Mulu, who is Member of Parliament, Kitui Central. But let's see how the weather will be today. This is what is on the front page of the Standard today. Abandoned hustler. President William Ruto has said Kenyans are not paying their fair share of taxes, and he was going to increase the rates. However, looking at the budget to be ready in a few weeks' time, the government's priorities have shifted from the Mwananchi initiatives to other key areas. And you have a story on page 4 of the Standard today. 12.6 billion shillings proposal is to trim agriculture budget by 12.6 billion shillings. 10.6 billion shillings medical services reduced by 10.6 billion shillings. 55 billion shillings education vote to be trimmed by 55 billion shillings, that is higher and basic. 48 billion shillings. The Ministry of Roads will see 48 billion shillings hived off. And petroleum to suffer as the plan is to reduce its budget by 25 billion shillings. Also on the teaser, Sudi hits back at DP as allies cry foul over budget. That is the story to follow on page 8 and 9 of the Standard. Why Kenya needed new choppers. That is on page 5 of the Standard. Close to 700 dead in Papua New Guinea landslide there. You can follow the story on page 21. And stars emerge as Rugby Super Series ends. That is another story on page 29 of the Standard today. Court plot to Uhuru King over 3 billion shillings land. Kenya Commercial Bank has won a protracted legal battle against former President Uhuru Kenyatta's cousins over 443-acre piece of land. This story is on page 6 of the Standard. Also get all the wiser as far Health and Science magazine is concerned. Why men suffer in silence. It's cheaper. Ruto on hiring private jets. President defended his use of a luxury airplane to the US, claiming it was less expensive compared to flying in the national carrier KQ. That story on page 7. Also the stress and strain of cleaning social media content. That is on page 3 of today's publication of the Standard. The Daily Nation. Our tea farmers lost 600 million shillings is a splash today. Bitter test, I should say. Some 620,000 small-scale tea farmers lost over 600 million shillings in dubious transactions by top officials at the Kenya Tea Development Agency. An audit report presented to President William Ruto recently has revealed. And the president has demanded that action be taken on the masterminds of the well-orchestrated and massive plunder that has impoverished hard-working farmers countrywide. Impoverished, that I should say. On page 7 of the Daily Nation is where you can read this story. Will the centre hold? The political marriage between President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua is facing a litmus test as the Cold War between the two Kenya Kwanza Alliance honchos rages, even as the DP dismisses talk of blood between him and his boss. He still accuses the president's allies of political meddling in his Mount Kenya backyard. The question is this the making of a political fallout? The story is well fleshed out for you on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. On the sidebar, empty bellies, empty desks. Empty bellies, empty desks, hidden crisis of childhood hunger. That is on page 2. And State sued over 366 million shillings HIV testing kits tender. A Chinese company has sued the government for classifying its HIV testing kits as substandard, resulting in the firm being denied 366 million shillings. Still, you have a story on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. Kenya police mission to Haiti put on hold. Base to host officers yet to be completed. And private jet was cheaper than flying KQ. Ruto says on US trip. You have a story on page 6. Financial mess at Kenyatta National Hospital. Hospital in 6 billion shillings hole. Skewed NHIF contract. Low Linda Mama rate sinking country's biggest referral facility. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. And in the name of the Father, officers seek God's protection. You can see here Father Peter Kimani, National Coordinator of Disciplined Service Chaplaincy, sprinkling holy water on items used by 6 uniformed and disciplined services Also, Kenya to train 2,000 Haiti police officers in New Deal to suppress gang violence. This is on page 2 of the publication today. Auditor flags 150 million shillings paid for ghost students placed in private varsities on page 7, and win for KCB as Kenyatta relatives lose his battle to save prime thicker farm from auction. The story is on page 9 of the publication. Gachagua and Ruto war offers replay. It offers replay of Uhuru Ruto tiff in familiar twist. This is on page 6 of the Star today. People Daily. Tough laws on demos. Legislation conveners of protests and assemblies to be held legally liable for damage to property if Parliament passes proposed law. You have a story on page 4 of the publication today. Heineken ordered to pay tycoon 1.7 billion shillings fine. You can read all about it inside the People Daily today. Ruto defends his cheap US flights. US flight on page 5 of the publication is where the story is tucked away. Ushirika wao watikisa mlima, that is Taifa Leo for you. Urafiki wa Ruto, Raila waingiza baridi mlima Kenya kwa hofu ya kigogo wao kutengwa. That story continues on page 2. Baadaye kuwa naibu rais ameanza kutengwa yameibua mchecheto katika ukanda wa mlima Kenya, wakihofia hatua hiyo huenda ikamzuia Rigathi kutumiza miradi ya maendeleo ya kijamii aliyopewa. That story on page 2 of Taifa Leo this morning. And also on top ya waganga nao walilia utambuzi. Matibabu wa kienyeji wataka, matabibu wa kienyeji wataka watambuliwe kwa kazi wanayofanya. And that story is on page 4 of Taifa Leo this morning. Wafanyikazi 700 Homa Bay kufutwa. That is the story on page 4 of Taifa Leo this morning. The Business Daily. How earners handed tax-free per diems in new finance bill. That is what we have as the splash today. Proposed law allows tax-free per diems at 5% of gross pay. Bill also exempts reimbursement from taxation. That story on page 4 of the Business Daily today. A woman who took on supermarkets giant Carrefour and won. This is Njori. You can follow her story inside the Business Daily today. Why court rejected DPP push to hold ex-GDC officials' case, and why e-commerce farm Copia went into administration. BAT raises tobacco prices to retain farmers. Investors in T-bills bonds drowns inflation in 2023. The story on page 14 of the Business Daily this morning. We cross over to Tanzania, where Mchuchuma Liganga projects are marking time. Why Mchuchuma Liganga projects are marking time. The farm spearheading the $3 billion project says the government has yet to publish approved incentives, but the Trade and Industry Ministry has accused the investor of failing to attend negotiations. You have the story on page 2 of the publication today. Also, El Nino not responsible for East Africa floods. This is what experts are saying. Researchers say a climate system defined by the difference in sea surface temperature between western and eastern areas of the Indian Ocean contributed to the unusually heavy rainfall in the region. And this is not El Nino. You can follow the story on page 3 of the publication today. And 2011, the year the contract of the twin project in Ludewa district, Njome region, was signed between the government and the Chinese firm Sichuan Hongda Group Limited. This is, of course, the sub-headline related to the splash this morning. You can follow the story, as I mentioned, on page 2 of the Citizen this morning. Also, Tanzania threatens to sue over $20 million Bin Laden bounty. That story on page 2 of the publication this morning. In Uganda, why New Kampala Jinja roadworks have stalled the red tape dilemma. This newspaper has established that donors that committed to bankroll construction of the expressway, which is meant to decongest the critical eastern export-import artery through Kenya, have raised deep concerns over excessive delays in lifting the project off the ground. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor this morning if you're waking up in Uganda. Also, Muhoozi is new bishop of North Ankole Diocese. And you can see him, the Right Reverend Alfred Muhoozi in Golden Cassock, who was consecrated as the third bishop of North Ankole Diocese yesterday. He's posing with Vice President Jessica Alupo and the Church of Uganda Archbishop Stephen Kazimba Mugalu and other clerics at Emmanuel Cathedral, that is Rushere in Kiruhura District. North Ankole Diocese covers Kazo and Kiruhura districts. You can follow the story on page 2 of today's publication. And Chief Executioner Mukanja Soul refuses to rest in peace. You can read all about it inside the publication today. And land from China and run on businesses, says Minister. That is on page 2. You also have your Healthy Living magazine inside the publication today. UNEP sets deadline for submission of assessments. You have a story on page 3 of the publication. Who is Sindayigaya, the new Mufti of Rwanda? Who is Sindayigaya, the new Mufti of Rwanda? That is a question there. And the outgoing Mufti of Rwanda, Sheikh Salim Itimana, and his successor Musa Sindayigaya during the election in Kigali. Addressing Rwanda Muslim community at the event, Sheikh Sindayigaya pledged more development projects to pave the way for self-reliance. You have a story on page 3 of the publication. Rwanda Coding Academy set to enroll more students. Hospitality key player on why parents should nurture their children's dreams. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the publication this morning. East Africa this week, Biden's plan to eclipse Chinese influence in East Africa. U.S. elevates Kenya to pivotal position in trade, security and diplomacy with funding for an expressway along China-built SGR military hardware debt relief. You have the story on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. Rwanda flights and the end coming. With the UK going to polls in July, the migrant scheme may never get off the ground. You have a story on page 10. And Somalia town picks up pieces at doubly violence-racked region whose, I should say, rebirth AU forces have midwifed. You can read all about it inside the publication today. And also, Rwanda's Igabire goes to Arusha court. Opposition leader wants EACJ to restore her right to vote. That is tucked away on page 2 of East African this week. Lastly, let's see what is on the front page of the China Daily. Xi to attend China-Arab meeting. Upcoming forum seen as a major engine pushing forward cooperation. President Xi Jinping will attend the opening ceremony and deliver a keynote speech at the 10th ministerial meeting at the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum, a major vehicle that has driven bilateral relations since 2004. And state visit to three-nation boost ties. You can read all about it inside the publication this morning. I will be able to show you also what we have on the front page of Economist, the Time magazine, Newsweek as well, and other publications here on Morning Prime. But time to unveil the faces of our guests this morning. We're joined this morning by Dr. Makali Muli, Member of Parliament, Kitui Central. Also, we're joined by Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament, Barrie North. We'll be joined also by Hilary Sigei, who is the Senator of Bomet, and Richard Onyonka, who is the Senator of Kisii. Gentlemen, good morning. Dr. Makali, good to see you.
Good morning, Bodiwa.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Karibu sana.
It's under a cold morning today.
Today, yeah.
And it's a bit cold.
We're inching closer to June and July, so
sure. Yeah, June and July. But it's good to be here.
Yes.
To discuss issues and also look at the week that was.
Yes.
But I want to send my sympathies to my friend Honorable Roku. You know, Mukuka is no more in Mombasa.
Yeah, you tell us this. Mukuka is causing a lot between also.
And I saw him really defending his farmers. And then the governor is saying, the governor is also defending his children and the poor Mombasa residents, saying he cares about their health.
Yeah, this seems to be driving a wedge between the governor.
It's going to be a very interesting debate.
Or the governors of
the coast governors.
The coast governors and also, Meru governors.
They know they are saying that Mombasa, they are saying they did public participation. I don't know whether Ruto has done public participation from his side, because they need to compare notes.
I think it shows very serious levels of ignorance from the governors from the coast region, from Kilifi, Ramu, Taita Taveta, as well as Mombasa, for making a policy which is not informed by facts. Because whatever they are claiming is happening in the coast is as a result of armed drugs, which has been sold, in that region for ages. And we know the drug barons in this country, and mostly are in the coast. So they should not blame Muguka for the mess which they created themselves.
The mess.
Yes, it is because of smoking of the weed, bangi, and the consumption of unga. They call it unga.
The white substance.
Yes, it is not because of Muguka. Because we chew Muguka on a day-to-day basis from where I come from. And we don't have such kind of things you are talking about. So, and we have scientific proof done by serious biochemists who have done serious research as far as Muguka is concerned. And now, banning Muguka and leaving Mira from Meru, does it make any sense? It doesn't, because the same chemical, whatever it's, the same chemical composition of Mira is the same as the chemical composition of Muguka. So you are banning Muguka, leaving Mira, it doesn't make any sense. And probably it's because the drug baron in Mombasa have realized that the drugs are not moving as faster as they should be because of Muguka. Muguka is much cheaper. It's much cheaper, it's much it's readily available, and with 50 bob, you are good to go. But so most of those who are addicted with their drugs, they are moving slowly to Muguka, and the market is bad.
But for sure, I can tell you, I was in Mombasa last week, but what about? We are doing public participation for this year's, the coming year budget. We had the public meetings. And one of the things which came out from the members of public, because I was leading that team, is that one of the things they would want done for them during the coming year as part of their proposed projects, which they think is not in the budget as it is now, is they were saying they want a number of rehabilitation centers. And that was a clear demonstration of the problem, matters drugs in the coast region. This came out clearly in Mombasa, it came out in Kilifi, that they were saying, as you consider all the other projects, please consider rehabilitation centers and youth empowerment centers for our people, because our youth are really going through hard times. So I think the whole issue of drugs, whether it is Muguka or those other, the so-called hard drugs as you're calling them, is a matter which must be discussed by the leadership of Mombasa and also Kenya in general, because our young people are going through hard times. And you know, with the high rate of unemployment, most of them are trying to get a way to keep themselves busy. And those who can't be busy then a way to keep them not very alert, so that they don't think about the problems they are going through. To me, this is really a national problem. It requires national conversation so that as a country we save our youth, mostly for the future, because we are handing over this country to them. And if we don't really prepare them for that handover into the future, then the country will have a problem. But Dibao, I was in Kitwe. Kitwe is good.
Yep.
Few barriers here and there, you know, people are dying. I don't know whether it's the numbers which have increased. Oh, it's problems. You know, in time you go home, every weekend you have burials, about over 20 people burials. And you ask yourself, what is happening? And some are very young people, you can't imagine. So I think really it's something we need to see what to do, but at the same time also, because I remember in one of the burials, one of the ladies was giving a testimonial saying, we don't need to pray for people who are dead and families, because death should be part of us. But anytime you talk to people, they say now the deaths have increased. I don't know that it's the experience of my colleagues, but you realize that every Saturday we're burying very many people. We think a very small region.
Which age bracket? Is it for the elderly?
They are young. It's mixed. Okay. You find there are young people, there are older people. So it's not like the old days when you would be burying mostly the elderly. These even young people, we are burying them. And some of these issues of drug abuse, you know, the local brews, some of which are killing a lot of our young people. So you find you are burying young people 30 years, 35. Okay, the elderly are also dying. Then there's this other problem which has come up. Now the issue of cancer. I don't know. You know, you find cancer has become a serious problem. Actually, like in our area, out of the 5, 6 people you're burying, you find, you are told 3 died of cancer. By the time they are passing on, they'll have exhausted all the family resources because people have sold the goats. Some have even sold land to take care of the sick. It's a serious problem which needs to be addressed. And so health issues in this country really issues which need to be discussed seriously.
Yeah, let me rope in also Hilary again, because I think from Bomet it's reported there is a high number also of cases of prostate cancer, and we don't know what is really exacerbating this. When we hear Honorable Makali talking about cancer and the way it's ravaging families and taking lives. Every other weekend there is a burial. Are you privy to that particular information, and what is really contributing to that? Has it been studied?
It's really not that I would be medically fit to, for instance, comment about the causes or the situation as sees in terms of what would be the cause of death. But I can confirm the fact that what Honorable Ali is saying is what we undergo every weekend. I mean, it's not only the weekend, it's running through the week. It's only that Monday through Friday, we are basically in Parliament here. So the sessions that we would attend to send off a good number of people is rampant. It's actually huge. And as it's put, it's mixed. It's not like we're dealing with only the young people or the elderly. It is a mix. It's cutting across. And statistics definitely has also equally given us that, especially in the lower zone of Bomet, that is Bomet East and Chepalongo, there is quite a rampant cause. A number of cases are cancer victims who actually succumbing to the condition. And previously, these of course are unconfirmed reports out of the statistics that has previously been done, was that there was an allegation previously that, you know the mursik that we take, which is actually the soy milk. There was a report that previously came out, but later on reports from medical practitioners discounted that could not be the case of it. So it's still out there in the hoods as to what exactly would be the cause, but I can confirm that is one of the major causes of the deaths that we experience. A good number of people, we bury them almost every weekend. In fact, from our culture, ordinarily you are not required to attend more than 2 burials. That's what they say.
In your culture?
Yes, but
consecutively or
in one day. In one day, you are not expected to go to burial more than 2. Yeah. They say you are not, unless unless there is a rider to it. One, of course, is they say unless the other burial is conducted across a river.
Wow.
Sort of a permanent river, not just any other river. Yes. But sometimes you can't avoid, because you've lost a friend here, you've lost a relative here, and you are a leader. You're supposed to go and support them. You're supposed to go and send them off.
So what is the rhyme and reason behind that particular?
No, I believe
it's cultural.
I believe this must have been one of those reasons where the old guys were trying to avoid probably the cost implication. I mean, an excuse to it, because we've really never gotten to understand why, because of what purpose would it be? That I'm denying. Because in the course of our everyday engagement, these are your people, these are your voters, these are your friends, these are your relatives. you can't ignore them. You cannot say, because I've attended this, I cannot attend this. And they normally also organize in such a way that it's only the weekends where a good number of people are available, because we need to send them off. We need to send off our brothers and sisters, our relatives. And yeah, so it is something that we must have a conversation about. This, I know we have over time raised it. That is actually how we got those statistics I've just mentioned to you, that they say the cause of it is because of the kind of milk that we would take, particularly the soy milk. Why? Because of what the charcoal that they use to process it, the carbon that they use to process it. Some doctors discounted, they said it's no. And so we still there. It's something that is ongoing. I know, as a matter of fact, that that issue has been raised, not only at the assembly, but also at the national level. And we look forward to at least a justification, a confirmation of what could be the cause. But as to whether it is rampant, that one I can confirm that it is rampant. And it's also probably one of the reasons why we're pushing sometimes to say we need to have an institution, a medical institution that would give us more investigative aspects on the causes, and also how to take care of it. Because if you as a resident, if you as an adult, as a lady, as a man, would undergo what we call it the normal annual checkup, it probably would help to have an early discovery, and therefore it can be treated. The challenge is, we are all aware, the medical situation in the country, the medical health sector in the country is on another level. It's high, it's very expensive, not reachable to just any other holopolloi. And that is why we, the other day, were pushing the Kenya Kwanza government's agenda that let us reform the health sector. Let us bring on board an environment or a medical condition, or the laws that are being put in place, what we passed on, the 4 laws in the health sector, would now help us so that you don't, as long as you are covered under shift, it has an element of providing services and paying for services, including those critical conditions. Because most of these medical institutions are very expensive when it comes to such terminal health situations for victims. So we're saying it's something that we not only have got to look at in the context of affordability, but also an early preventive mechanism, a government that is looking forward to preventing and also availing medical services, not only to those who have already gotten there, but also to protect them. That is why the community health promoters are supplied with the equipment, are pushed through so that the county government also can come in to make sure that we have these people. For every 100 families, at least there is a health promoter. Someone who will just come and make sure that you are also privy to what's going on. We can check and test on the basic medical conditions and tests that can be done. That way, it will help us to know the situation that we are in. And we're looking forward to a situation where we are having this medical cover and the health completely reformed, so that we help our people, we help Kenyans. As they say, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. In that way, it will really help.
All right, let's back down to some of the stories that we want just also to tease out and discuss more keenly this morning, where it has been the talk of the town for the last 1 week. President William Ruto has broken his silence, defending the cost of hiring the Boeing business jet to travel to the United States of America for the recently concluded state visit. The president, who jetted back into the country using the same jet, said the cost was lower compared to using the Kenya Airways means. The president's reaction, which comes days after KTN News shone the light on the expensive jet that cost the taxpayers excess of 200 million shillings, has received a lot of backlash, with the opposition calling him out for trashing the austerity measures he has been preaching. But Is a Kenya Airways option too expensive, as the president says? KTN's political affairs reporter Emmanuel Toh interrogates.
In response to a story aired by KTN News a few days ago concerning the expensive Hustlers Jet Season 2 that has had tongues wagging, President William Ruto Sunday came out to defend the cost of his travel and the choice to use the Boeing business jet for the 4 days he was in the United States of America for a state visit. The head of state jetted back into the country Saturday evening aboard the same jet from the Abu Dhabi-based Royal Jet Company. Ruto posted on his X platform saying the cost of hiring the jet was lower than traveling on the national carrier KQ. The head of state went ahead to reiterate that he was a responsible steward of public resources and was living within the means he had told Kenyans to live within.
I think the expenditure on my trip are completely exaggerated. They are actually bordering on the ridiculous. I am very careful about the resources that I spend. In fact, I have cut down on funding to my office. I have cut down on funding to different government agencies. In fact, I have reduced by 30%.
A quotation requested and sent to KTN News by the Royal Jet Company puts the cost of hiring the state-of-the-art aircraft at a total cost of $748,600. That translates to about 98 million shillings one way for a 34-seater plane. Therefore, a round trip could potentially surpass the 200 million shilling mark, since Ruto also traveled from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., a trip spanning 2 hours. This amount is excluding the takeoff tax, landing tax, and parking. Reports indicate the president stayed with the jet in the U.S. for the whole week, which could push the total cost of the jet to well above 300 million shillings. The jet, owned and operated by a group of companies that leads the global premium private aviation sector, is chaired by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad bin Tahnoon Al Nahyan of Abu Dhabi, UAE. But how true is President Ruto's assertion that the KQ flight was more expensive than the jet that he used? Well, we did some digging on the KQ website and made a request for a business class seat return ticket. These are the most prestigious and the most expensive seats of any plane. We found out that it would cost 847,000 shillings for a return ticket to New York. Kenya Airways launched direct non-stop flights to JF Kennedy International Airport in New York, USA in 2018. The total flight time, 15 hours. If we round off the figure per seat to 1 million shillings, then it will cost 34 million shillings for the number of seats that are equal to the ones in the Boeing business jet that President Ruto traveled in. The Royal Jet has 8 VIP seats, 8 business, and 18 standard. These will translate to a difference of about 164 million shillings less to fly to New York in a KQ plane. The president will need to connect to either Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia at a cheaper cost, since the two cities are less than 2 hours each from New York City.
How much was it used for your trip?
There are people who will answer those questions, but I can tell you from where I sit that the numbers being bandied around are ridiculous.
It would be very interesting for Kenyans to know how much it would have cost, right, to fly the president by KQ from Jomo Kenyatta to New York, or even indeed to Washington.
There was a heap of other people in the other flights. It's not that they were all in one plane. So we are only talking about those who are in the Royal Jet, and it costed us 200 million shillings. And we still have not been told how much it costed us, because the plane waited for him for all the time that he was in the US.
The opposition has now fired at William Ruto for ostensibly giving a vote of no confidence on the national carrier, which is trying to rise from the ashes of making losses due to bad publicity, among other reasons.
These are some of the things that we expect leaders to speak openly and be truthful about this thing. And then let Kenyans then judge which is cheaper.
KQ made losses amounting to 22.6 billion shillings in the year ending last December. But even with this colossal amount, KQ was still at a better place compared to other years. When they traveled to the US during their respective tenures, President Mwai Kibaki, who had a state visit to the US in 2003, flew Kenya Airways. His predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, who also loved traveling, was severally captured flying KQ to US after Kenya launched the direct flights to New York 6 years ago. A few days ago, Iceland's Prime Minister Bjarni Benediktsson landed in Malawi modestly aboard a Kenya Airways Embraer plane, sparking speculations as to why President Ruto would opt for a jet. In April this year, Tanzania President Samia Suluhu Hassan flew Tanzania Air to Ankara, Turkey for a 5-day state visit. It is not the first time President Ruto is finding himself in the receiving end concerning hiring expensive jets. In 2013, Parliament formed a committee to probe how he hired a luxury jet that flew him to 4 African countries for a shuttle diplomacy on his ICC case for 100 million shillings. Emmanuel To, KT News, Nairobi.
Now, on Saturday, the simmering differences between President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua was brought to bear. Rigathi's absence to welcome back his boss at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and his admission that allies of President Ruto are out to undermine him in his Mount Kenya backyard have put to rest the speculation, and now efforts to quell the tension have begun. Gachagua remained in the president's backyard, where he hinted that a committee consisting of elders from the Rift Valley and Mount Kenya regions have been formed in efforts to reconcile the leaders. Jeff Kirui has more.
For a while now, talks of deteriorating relationship between President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua has been at the center of political debate. On the day President William Ruto was jetting back to the country Saturday evening from his state visit to the US, DP Rigathi Gachagua once again was a no-show to welcome back his boss at the airport, as has been the norm. Instead, Gachagua was in Ruto's backyard of Uasin Gishu County, where he for the first time admitted that all is not well in the ruling coalition, Kenya Kwanza.
So the problem, Senator Mandago, is a few leaders from this region who have proximity to the president. Ndio wanakoroga siasa huko kwetu.
According to insiders, President Ruto and DP Gachagua are not on speaking terms. The simmering tension within the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition has seen perceived allies of President William Ruto and those of Rigathi Gachagua take sides amidst allegation of a plot to undermine the authority of Gachagua in the Mount Kenya region.
Sisi tuliunga Rais Ruto mkono kwa hiari yetu na kwa kupenda. Na tunaendelea kumuunga mkono. Tunaomba heshima kidogo. Msijaribu kutupangia siasa ya Mlima Kenya na kutupangia uongozi wa Mlima Kenya. Nyinyi mupange siasa yenu na uongozi wenu.
Na unajua ndama ikikunywa maziwa lazima ikimbie. Tunataka tu kuomba Your Excellency usijali, waja hii vijana wamekunywa maziwa kimbie kidogo, lakini sisi wale tumekuwa vijana wazee kidogo, tutawaambia wasingate singenge, wakimbie tu ndani ya boma.
Hii siasa kidogo watu waache. Na Your Excellency kalia kiti vizuri na proper. Na uendeshe gari pale mbele, kalia steering. Na usaidie William Ruto tuende Ruto term 2.
Vijana huenda saa nyingine wako na mbio kidogo. Tulizeni mbio, kwanza tushikilie, tujenge taifa.
The growing tension has prompted the formation of a team of elders and leaders from Mount Kenya and Rift Valley region to step in as intermediaries. On Friday and Saturday, Rigathi Gachagua, in the company of Uasin Gishu woman rep Gladys Bose, met the Kikuyu Council of Elders for breakfast in Eldoret. Sources intimate that the mediation team is being steered by a senior senator from Mount Kenya region who enjoys a cordial relationship with the two leaders.
Hatuwezi kusema mambo yetu ambayo tumekosana kidogo kwa mikutano ya hadhara, na ni mambo machache, pengine ni makosa dogo tunaweza yatatua tukiwa pamoja.
Sisi ambao tulikuwa kwa bunge iliyopita, we were put in a very awkward position where we were forced to choose to belong to either this side or that other side. And it wasn't a good position at all.
Gachagua now having to fight for the control of his Mount Kenya backyard against an onslaught from leaders within the inner circle of his boss, President William Ruto. Jeff, Kirui, KTN News.
And a day after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua accuses some politicians from Rift Valley in President William Ruto's inner circle of fueling divisive politics in Mount Kenya region, I should say, Kapsaret MP Oscar Sudi has hit back. Sudi spoke out during a fundraiser at AIC Cape Korgot in Ainabkoi, Uasin Gishu County. Sudi claimed unnamed political leaders felt threatened by budding leaders, stating that the leaders should instead support such upcoming leaders instead of attacking them. Elvis Kuskwe has more.
The Kapseret lawmaker was accompanied by national and local leaders, said everyone is free to go wherever they want. Sudi claimed some leaders have felt threatened by his boldness and generosity.
Oscar Sudi asisunguke akae kwa constituency yake. Na sasa hiyo unaongea uko kwa constituency ya mwingine na mko 30 hata sio mtu mmoja 30 MPs na mnasema huyu mtu akae. Sasa sio ni kujicontradict ama namna gani? Mimi nataka niambia hawa wajumbe walikuwa hapo jana pamoja na wenye walikuwa nao wote pale bila kutembea katika taifa la Kenya hatungekuwa na serikali.
By the time Kibaki was elected, he was 29 years old. Our own president started somewhere when he was young, when he was a member of parliament for Eldoret North. Mheshimiwa Sudi started at a younger age when he started at Kapseret. I am a young member of parliament. I am not going to join the choir of those who disparage young leaders. That I will not join.
Kwa nini wakati ile wa siasa wa kufanya campaign hamukuwa mnasema asizunguke?
Sudi claimed that people have been inviting him to various harambes which he has been willingly attending.
Niliambukishwa ugonjwa wa kujenga makanisa na mtu anaitwa William Ruto. Sasa aliniambukisha ugonjwa na yeye akaenda kwa deputy, sasa amekuwa rais. Sasa mimi nimesema kwa sababu yeye ameenda huko juu sana, mambo yake ni kubwa kubwa, sasa waje mimi nifanye hii ndogo ndogo.
On Saturday, Gachagua was in a function in the county of Uasin Gishu without naming, claimed that some politicians from Rift Valley, with the proximity of the president, were causing political rifts in Mount Kenya and Rift Valley.
Mtu achunge constituency yake. Stay in your constituency. Sasa wewe umechaguliwa pahali ingine, interest yako kesi ni gani? Uko na interest. Sasa wewe unakuja kuangaisha mjumbe na wewe uko na kwako. Mimi hiyo maneno staki.
Kuwa kiongozi wa kunacha viongozi wadogo. Usiwe kiongozi ukiona mtu anataka kutokea pale unataka ngonge kichwa. Hapana. Sisi wote tukiomba kura hii ya Kenya Kwanza, tulisunguka tukiwa timu kubwa na tuache kuunganisha watu na ukabila. Hii maneno ya ukabila sijui tutafanya nini.
Leaders who accompanied Sudi assured him of support, saying he has been working with other leaders and traversing various constituencies in aid of development projects.
Mimi nikiomba kura 2012 ya kwanza. Mulisikia si uko na pesa? Mulisikia nikiomba mtu mafuta? Sasa mimi naona watu wengine wanataka kunisomea hapa ati sijui huyu mtu anatoa pesa, sijui anatembea na ndege kubwa, sijui anatembea na nini. Kwani hii ndege ilitengenezwa nani atembea naye? Kuna watu waliambikiwa hiyo ndege watembea naye? So tafadhali tuheshimiane.
Let's work hard. Let's look at the bigger picture. Vile tulitafuta kura waheshimiwa wenzangu, tulitafuta kura tukiwa pamoja, tukiwa Kenya Kwanza, we were working as one team. Let's put our minds together to see how we can uplift the life of these people of Uasin Gishu.
Kama kijana ndashikana mkono na wale viongozi wengine vijana, wale ambao ni wasee pia tunawaambia tutawaheshimu lakini mheshimu vijana.
Elvis Kosgei, KTN News, Uasin Gishu County.
And leaders across the political divide have called for changes to the Finance Bill 2024, considering the current hard economic times. Speaking during a church service and thereafter a fundraiser in Luanda, Vihiga County, the leaders say the previous financial bill hurt the common citizen and are not ready to repeat the same mistakes and called for equitable resource allocation. Elsewhere, governors of the 4 Western region counties have reiterated their resolve to work with the national government in the best interest of the region's development.
The prayer service and thereafter a fundraiser at Luanda in Vihiga County, and leaders sustained the talk on the Finance Bill 2024, calling for serious considerations. The leaders say the reason skyrocketed taxes have dimmed Kenyans' hopes and the bill should not sink them further, besides calling for equitable resource distribution.
Ni lazima tusimame na wananchi, na wale watu ambao wataweza kusimama na wananchi ni wabunge. Na mimi naambia wabunge wote, weka tofauti ya vyama na mirengo kando. Angalia mwananchi wako. Sababu hii tax ikiwekwa haitaenda kwa Kenya Kwanza ama kwa Azimio. Nataka ile finance bill ikiletwa kwa parliament, the only thing we must do ni kwamba tukae chini tuirekebishe ili mwananchi wa kawaida asililie sana.
Tunataka barabara ikijengwa Central, barabara yetu hii ya Maseno kwenda pale Kombewa pale ilishia pale iwekwe ndani. Sina hivi. Sisi tunataka maendeleo kila region ya hii ya Kenya.
The leaders, mostly from Western Kenya, have been coalescing around Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Wetangula, have been traversing the region, saying it is not politics but seeking the region's unity.
For us to make a difference, we must work together. For us to make a difference, we must go out there and talk to other people. Huyu Mera amewaambia hata tukipata kura ya Waluya 100% in one basket bila wengine, lazima tuende hapa kwa jirani zetu wa Jaluo tushirikiane, tuende Rift Valley tushirikiane, tuende Central tushirikiane, kila mahali.
There has been a stalemate over the devolved unit's budgetary allocation, with the Senate rooting for 415 billion shillings, even as the National Assembly insists on 391 billion shillings. A mediation committee has since been set up, even though senators say they will defend their initial proposed figure. This as the four governors from Western Kenya, while in Funyula, Busia County for a fundraiser, reiterated their resolve to work with the national government in the best interest of the region.
Wabunge na waomba kwamba serikali inataka 391 bilioni ikuje kwa makaunti. Sisi kama maseneta tumekataa. Tumesema tunataka 415 billion ikuje kwa makaunti. Ndio sasa tuweze kutekeleza ile miradi ambayo serikali imeleta.
Na sisi kama governors wote tulisema serikali kuu na serikali za gatuzi zote 47 ni vema kushirikiana. Hata kiongozi wetu, kinara wetu, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga alisema yeye hana wasiwasi yoyote magovernors wa Azimio wakishirikiana na serikali kuu kwa shughuli ya maendeleo.
Tukishikana kama magovernors hapa waine na hao wajumbe wetu, na tunasema tunataka kitu ikuje hapa Western Province na tuweze kunegotiate na serikali ya kimataifa, iko at least mtu atatusikiza.
Alan Wachanda, KTN News.
And lastly, a section of leaders from Ukambani counties have called on President William Ruto to stop demolition of homes alleged to have been erected on flood-prone riparian areas, saying such is causing untold suffering to families. The leaders, including former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua, Makueni Senator Dane Manzo, and Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi, faulted the government for demolitions in Gikomba Market, Mathare, and other areas in Nairobi City County for what they termed as sabotage to hustlers' economy. The leaders also waded into the disputed construction of multi-million markets in Makueni County by the State Department of Housing and Urban Department through the Economic Stimulus Program. Also present were Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and Bungoma counterpart Kenneth Lusaka.
Watu wote wanachungwa na katiba. Lazima wale watu serikali waongeleshe, ni walipe fidia, waonyeshwe mali ya kwenda, ndio ubomoaji ufanyike.
This government is truly and squarely irresponsible.
Kanisa 37 zikaletwa chini.
that government popularly elected, not even the clergy was aware. Kazi ya soko ni kazi ya county, sio kazi ya national government. Na pesa ikipita kwa World Bank inafaa iende kwa magavana.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we shall be looking at those stories and more. And these are the editorial cartoons today. As you can see, the mongrel on my left is more muscular than the one on